Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another card combo show with me, Chocobilly. And this week I'm going to be looking at a relatively unimpressive card that does something, I guess. I am, of course, talking about Sophia from Opus 19. So, at the beginning of the attack phase during each of your turns, choose one forward dependent controls. It loses 2,000 power until the end of the turn. She's a 2 CP, 5k water forward. So, not above curve, her abilities, yeah, it's choose one forward dependent control, so it's mandatory as well. So yeah, it's nothing hugely impressive, but that's one of the reasons I do this show, is to try and think how can I combo this with interesting things. So, first up, I mean, it's all going to be relatively much the same anyway, but anyway, Mumba. So, choose one forward, deal it damage equal to its power minus 1,000. Obviously, you need to use Mumba first, and then use Sophia's effect, because if you use Sophia's effect and let it resolve, and say 7,000 power forward went down to 5,000, and then you cast Mumba, it would only take 4k damage. So make sure to use Mumba first, or if you're doing it in the same stack, at least make it so Mumba resolves first. Next up we have a Diablos. So choose one forward, if its power's been increased or decreased, break it. So yeah, just straight up, use Sophia, target something, let that resolve, Diablos, kill it. Worth noting, again with Diablos, if a forward's power is set to something, so say for example using the 3 CP Lulu in Wind, who sets something's power to 5k, even though that forward, if it was 7k, 8k, whatever, even though its power has technically decreased, it has been set to that power rather than decreased to that power. And so therefore, Diablos won't kill that forward. It's a technicality, but setting something to a certain power versus reducing it to a power are two different things, so just bear that in mind. Then we have a Barbarousia. So when Barbarousia enters the field, choose one forward dependent controls until the end of the turn, its power becomes 1,000, and then minus 2,000 power. Pretty simple, really, and there's going to be lots of this, to be fair. T'Chaka, so the forwards of an element other than water lose 1,000 power, and when T'Chaka attacks, all the forwards opponent controls lose 2,000 power at the end of the turn. So it means that you can make it so that one forward loses 5,000 power, which is a fair amount of heavily played forwards, to be fair. So it means that hopefully you can just outright kill them just through these two forwards effects. But you can obviously combine it with additional effects as well to then make sure so that those forwards just, even if they're 8k power, just pop them. Diablos. So choose one forward. If its power becomes 3,000 until the end of the turn. If you have cast 4 or more cards this turn, all the forwards' powers become 3,000 until the end of the turn. Anyway, so obviously with Diablos, and if you manage to get all the casts off, then T'Chaka attacking alongside its passive effect, alongside Diablos, would just be an outright kill, regardless. But if you use Sophia to set something minus 2k, and you've got T'Chaka's standard effect of minus 1k, and then you cast Diablos on something that isn't a water forward, then that will be set to 3,000 minus 2 of Sophia minus 1 of T'Chaka. It pops. The Crystal Exarch. So obviously you get to buff a forward as well, and actually that can be taken by your opponent's forwards as well. So at the beginning of the attack phase during each of your player's turns, choose one forward against plus 2,000 power. So if your opponent has an Auron, it means that Crystal Exarch has to buff that Auron. So be mindful of that. But ultimate damage 5 it gains when the Crystal Exarch attacks. Choose one forward. Its power is less than the Crystal Exarch power. Break it. So yeah, Sophia to reduce that forward to power. Crystal Exarch attacks, kills the forward. So it's actually quite nice because Crystal Exarch gains when it choose one forward. So it could even be something like Warrior of Light, even though you use Crystal Exarch to push it up to a 9k. Warrior of Light still bigger, so then you use Sophia to then reduce that down as well. So technically you get a 4k swing in your favour. Titan. So again, your opponent could have something like Warrior of Light on the field. Play Titan. Just kill anything. It just means that Sophia obviously can actually kill that forward. And you never know, maybe because you have to go to attack phase for that effect to happen as well, you can then use Sophia to maybe push a point of damage to 3. And then you play Titan on Lord of the Crags onto the field, because then obviously Sophia is going to die as well. Two-headed dragon. So this is more a case of just using Sophia's effect alongside a myriad of different fire effects, right? So you're using water to kind of bring some forwards power within an easier killing range, so something 7k, 8k, using Sophia to reduce it down, and then maybe attacking with Two-headed Dragon or attacking with a forward that maybe also does damage on the field. So I don't know, Ranger for example, just 3k, is it 3k? 2k or 3k to the opponent's board, and then with Two-headed Dragon an additional 4k. To be fair, that already is 7k, but then with Sophia it's a -2, so then a 9k goes to 7k, dies. So yeah, just really how many different fire forwards can you have attacking to then deal lots of damage alongside Sophia's power reduction, which again, if you use alongside something like T'Chaka, means that you get even more power buff or power reduction in your favour. Just bear in mind that T'Chaka also reduces your own forwards power that aren't of water, and if T'Chaka says all forwards other than water lose 1,000 power, so even if you have a fire water forward on the field, it will still lose 1,000 power because it is still a forward other than water, because it has fire. Odin, choose a forward, if it's 7,000 power or less, break it. So yeah, obviously this would only work on a 9,000 power forward or less, so Sophia, to reduce its power, Odin, immediately break it. Arciella, so when you go to attack phase, if you have 3 water cards in hand, you get to draw a card. If you've got 3 fire cards on hand, you get to choose a forward and deal a 7k. Again with Sophia, it means, and this is also an attack phase trigger as well, so you get to use both of these effects and stack them however you want. But ultimately it means that your opponent can have a 9k forward, with Arciella hitting her 3 fire cards in hand, and Sophia, you can then take out 9k just by going to attack phase, which is pretty good. But again, remember, if you have something like T'Chaka on the field and Arciella is actually only a 6k, so bear that in mind. Romelda, so damage 3 when she's played onto the field, choose one forward, loses 7,000 power. Damage 3 is pretty easy to hit, I mean it's going to happen. So Sophia, again, minus 2k, play Romelda, or maybe just EX burst. And then you get minus 7k power to then kill something. And as a little reminder, if something's power is set to 0, it isn't broken, it's put into the break zone, which is different because something being put into the break zone technically is a rule processing within the game. So a forward cannot have a power of 0, so when it gets set to 0, it's put into the break zone. Even if it has text that says this forward cannot be broken, you put it into the break zone. If it has text along the lines of when this forward is put into the break zone, or if this forward leaves the field, that still triggers those effects. But yeah, if a forward cannot be broken, but its power is reduced to 0, doesn't matter, it's put into the break zone. Porum, so yeah, obviously you need 3 counters on Porum to do this, but you can make a forward lose its abilities, and then with 3 counters, set its power to 1,000. You then use Sophia's effect, minus 2k, it's then minus 1,000 power. Pinello, so I love me some dancers. I mean, there's 2 effects here with Pinello that are decent enough, but obviously you can dull a job dancer other than Pinello to set its power to 4,000, and then use Sophia's effect, minus 2k, so now it's only a 2k power forward, and then you can have, maybe you've played 2 cards this turn, which, let's face it, in wind and water, very easy to do. So yeah, you cast 2 things, and then you pass your turn. Pinello will then do her effect of how many cards you've cast this turn, deal that much in thousands across the opponent's board, so 2k, kill something, which is nice. You can combine this with Matoya, which kind of does the same thing really, because she enters the field and she sets something to 4k, but that at least is 1 cast alongside the Pinello as well. So yeah, you could play Matoya onto the field, cast something else, play Matoya onto the field, play Sophia onto the field, go to combat, set something to, well, set whatever Matoya, set to 4k, minus 2k, you've cast 2 things, pass your turn, 2k, kill the forward. But obviously you can dull Matoya as well for Pinello's effect, and then set something else to 4k, and obviously you could just use Matoya's effect to put her in the break zone to deal 4k to the board. But, you know, different ways of just making sure you're killing stuff, because even though you've got settings 4k, if you set something to 4k, but then you've also got a static power buffer, so Walker on the backup lineup, for example, it means that forward still survives annoyingly. And then this dancer, obviously, this is the easy play, so you have this dancer on the field, you dull it to set a forward to 4,000 power with Pinello's effect, you then use Sophia, minus 2k power, pass turn, this dancer deals 2k to the board, job's done. And there we go, folks, that is it. It's a pretty simple video this week, to be honest, but Sophia's a card I really like. She doesn't have a massive effect, but sometimes it's nice to just address these cards and talk about them, because a lot of time they get forgotten about. I mean, don't get me wrong, you've got, what's the name of the card? Soul, the Dark Soul, FFBE, who basically has this effect but he's a 3 CP, 9k. He is a dark card, so that is the one kind of drawback, but all those different effects are really good, including minus 2k to all your opponent's forwards. So, you know, ultimately there are probably better, more playable cards out there, but realistically I quite like Sophia anyway, because she's quite cheap, easy to play onto the field, and you never know, there might be some more Final Fantasy Legends synergy out there somewhere, maybe. I don't know, I doubt it. I had a look for FFL synergy, and there is very, very little. Like, you can have Glaive on the field to give her plus 2k or plus 1k in Brave, or I don't know, Dallin freeze a forward of 5 cost or more if you have the Emperor backup down, which isn't good. So yeah, FFL isn't really in a great state on its own, to be fair, which is weird because we got the most recent Nacht, who's a Warrior of Darkness, and they're the only Warrior of Darknesses that I'm aware of, so there could be a little Warrior of Darkness engine there. Who knows? Anyway, I'm going to stop rambling. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Stay safe, be lucky, and I'll see you in the next video.